Keep 100% of your claim. G4 Claims.
If you've been hurt in a road accident that wasn't your fault, you should really talk to G4 Claims first. Unlike road accident solicitors, we don't charge you for our services, which could see you better off. To keep 100% of your compensation, have a chat with Nicole and the team. You'll be glad you did. Search online for G4 Claims.
Keep 100% of your claim. G4 Claims.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sellik the Thunder podcast, and Happy New Year, I suppose. I know we're a few days late for that, but it's the first episode of 2026. Here we are, all of these years later after starting back in 2020, and who would have guessed to kick off the new year we'd be talking about the return of Martin O'Neill, and not for the first time this season. So we have a lot to cover. I mean, from the last time I sat here with Ryan McGinley, the world has turned upside down, Kieran Auld, and I don't think any of us could have guessed the script for Celtic this season. But how are you doing? How's the start to your new year? Tell us, fill us in.
I mean, out with Celtic, it's been alright. A decent start to the new year, but as we're obviously going to have to talk about today, what a wild few weeks it's been being a Celtic supporter. 5 weeks after his departure, in comes Martin O'Neill yet again to hopefully save the day, but it's brought a wee bit more excitement back, but still dire times.
Aye, I think that sums it up perfectly. Dire times. Calum, we obviously had a drink together at New Year, and that was after me and Ryan filmed an episode that day, and I remember that night we were talking about how long would Wilfred Nancy last, and I think we seen it coming if a defeat came to Rangers, but nonetheless, how have you been feeling? Celtic aside, are you good?
Okay, it's good. As you said, Celtic aside, it's been a good start to the new year. Work hasn't been too bad and whatnot, but just trust Celtic to put a dampener on parts of it.
Oh aye, that's Celtic for you. I mean, this is what this podcast is for. We vent, we get it all out, and we continue. What's that old saying again? Keep calm and carry on. Very cringy, but that's how it goes. We do apologise before we get going. We do apologise we're with you again remote today. But I'm still waiting on a new car that has not arrived yet. So the new car should be here in the coming days. We'll be back to the G4 studio. We'll be back in person. Until then, it's the COVID style times. Kieran, Wilfred Nancy was sacked this week. He is no longer Celtic manager, and he lasted a record 33 days in the job. He arguably, or pretty much ultimately, goes down in the worst manager of the history of the club. But it was a decision that Celtic had to make, wasn't it?
I mean, it was for weeks we knew it was only a matter of time, and that's the more galling thing about it, because supporters could have told you after the cup final this is not going to get better, but we knew the board would persist, keep him in his position. Obviously, they 2 wins against Aberdeen and Livingston bought him a wee bit more time, but it's very frustrating because we knew after 4 games that was the way things were going to go. I said in my last appearance on the podcast that even if we won the 2 games that we did win, plus Motherwell, which we actually got beaten, I said I would not have any confidence that this side would go and win at Celtic Park against Rangers. And after I said that, we won 2, and then we lost against Motherwell and Rangers in very embarrassing fashion. So it was always going to happen, but nah, it goes down as you said, the worst manager in the history of the club, but one of the worst appointments in the history of Scottish football. For him to come into a club like Celtic, try and implement his philosophy, you could tell from the get-go the players just were not buying into it. He obviously did not have enough time or resources to implement his football and philosophy, but as I said time and time again to you, you can get away with that in the MLS. There's no real pressure on. Like, you can lose 6, 7 games and you're not going to get the sack, but the stakes are so much higher here. And he found that out the hard way. And I don't hold any malice towards the guy. It did not work out. Maybe in another timeline coming in the summer, time to implement things, it goes a bit better. But to be as naive as Nancy was with the personnel he had at his disposal, to continue to persist with the style of football he so obviously believed in. It was just never going to work, but hopefully
It's
onwards and upwards now.
It's funny that you bring up the MLS line because there's been I don't know if you've been following it on social
Oh,
media, on Twitter, the back and forth between Scottish football fans and American football fans. It's been quite entertaining. That's a conversation for maybe later in the show. But Calum, it felt like the writing was on the wall for weeks, and I know that we are in danger of revisiting the same lines and the same points that we've made time and time again, but it felt like the icing on the cake at the weekend, and there was very little encouraging signs that this was something that was ever going to work. His stubbornness ultimately cost him in the end. There was a rhetoric that sort of went about around the week leading into the derby, and then even after the derby, some fans suggested that the Celtic board would just be too stubborn, that the Celtic board would keep him in spite of us and really make a statement with that. But ultimately, I don't think he gave himself any credibility to stand on. There was no defence for Celtic to keep him any longer. It just felt like the excuses that they could have totally vanished after that defeat to Rangers.
Yeah, definitely. I think more so to the fact of how poor a start it was. I think she said the writing was on the wall for the get-go. Obviously came in at it was a hard spell of games, but at the same time, to be so naive as to think you start a back three straight away and you think everybody will kick on running. And I was on here a couple of weeks ago and focused on he's contradicting himself because I brought up Arnie Engels' comments where he said a professional footballer should be able to play in any system, but when it's that large a change, when you don't have the clientele for it, it's just not going to work. To play a system like that so quickly, you need folk like Maldini, Van Dijk. No, when you've got Liam Scales as your centre-half option, it's just never going to happen. But no, I think, as Kieran said, no malice towards the guy. I think he knew it himself. You've seen the clips, obviously at full time where I saw it was straight up the tunnel. There was none. He knew it himself at that point.
Yeah,
that it was done. I think it's just more a surprising factor of the board conceding that they were wrong so early. As you said, I thought they would have tried to even stick it out, even at least another week. But I think, kind of how sour things were, I think they just realised it was time to try and save themselves ever so slightly.
Yeah, I mean, I know we give them it's stinking and like they deserve, but they're no stupid. I think they would have saw the murmurs of boycotts. I think they would have heard the chants, and we saw videos of what was happening right in front of their faces in the main stand on Saturday, and they probably drew the line there when that started happening. They knew that they had to get out quickly. I like that you brought up the point about Arnie Engels and that quote that he famously, I say famously, maybe now infamously, said about, oh, we're professional footballers, we should be able to adapt, we should be able to play in any system. But Calum, the thing was for me that it wasn't just like it was a simple systematic change. It started to verge on a cluelessness, which I think even the greatest of footballers, as you've brought up the likes of Maldini and Van Dijk, but even the greatest players that Celtic could attract, but the looks of it didn't look comfortable at all, and they did just look lost. So when you see videos of Sean Maloney in a 7-minute extended training session video coming out and saying, there's the midfield I know, and when you see these 7-minute training videos that were never published for Wilfred Nancy even from day one, it does make you wonder, was it just really that bad behind the scenes?
It does. As you said, for them to upload that within hours after the first training session, complete with Maloney, McManus and Foran coming back in, as opposed to the closest we've ever seen at Lennoxtown with Nancy was that very awkward exchange between him and James Forrest. I think it was painfully bad to the fact that I think that's probably why they've said, let's no upload anymore.
Should have sacked him then, man.
Very apt, Kim, very apt.
I think it's just, there definitely was something that, even as you said, I'm surprised the players didn't even kind of try and get to a point and say, do you know what, he's come out and he said this. Somebody said it to me on Saturday, like, they're professionals, I don't really think they would do it, but folks saying, let's just ignore what he's trying to say is just now because it's clearly not working. Let's play the football that we know. And as you said, players look lost in his system, as if they were completely void of ideas to think, right, I know he's told us to do this, but we physically cannot do it at all.
Yeah, and you brought up him heading straight up the tunnel, but Kieran, I think if we want to talk about the players for a moment, one of the final nails in the coffin surely was the Luke McCowan comments that came out after the game. They were damning. Like, what he said after that game was like no post-match interview I've ever heard at Celtic, and I still... I refuse to believe that would have happened under any other managers. It just felt like the vibes were off everywhere, and it feels like there was a lack of character, a lack of charisma, and a real lack of authority with the guy as well.
I genuinely think we were a couple of weeks away from, I don't know if any of you have listened to that Zara Hearts thing, and they're talking about how Craig Gordon, Paul Hartley and Stephen Presley held a press conference against Vladimir Romanov. I think we were a couple of weeks away from McGregor, McCowan and I don't know.
Kieran Tierney.
Tierney. Aye, shite.
Because like McCowan came out and said what we're all thinking while trying to do, and listen, maybe we can get into whether or not McCowan was right or wrong. I think there's a big conversation to have there about the way that he done it, but he basically came out and said this it's never been as bad at this at Celtic. This is shit. That was effectively what McCowan said.
I know, it's very damning, but I mean, as you say, they echoed what the support has felt for the past 5 weeks watching this team. Mental we can actually just contain this era into 5 weeks. Saying that aloud is mental, but I mean, half time at the game, we were talking about being 1-0 up. We seemingly dominated the game, and when you're sitting in a position like that, any other year you're thinking, right, we're going to come out, hopefully get a goal early. But I feel like there was just this sense of worry and maybe an acceptance for the crowd that we kind of know where this is heading. Because I feel like even at half time, we spoke to people like, aye, but Dundee United the other week. And yeah, you've got these things playing in the back of your mind. And if the fans are thinking that, do you think the players are going in the back of their mind that all Rangers did today was bring on Diamande and the midfield problem was sorted instantly? Then they banged 3 goals past us.
Well,
but,
Calum... Oh, sorry, on you go, Kim.
No, my last point on that, I said it to you as well. I was at the point personally where even if we did put away chances and go into half-time 3-0 up, I still wouldn't have had any confidence that we'd have won that game. I still think Rangers go and score 3 goals.
It's hard to disagree because it was that bad. And Calum, what I was going to say there is you've done your bits and bobs of coaching here and there, and obviously you played before your foot decided to chuck it on you, right? But like, you've done your wee bits of coaching here and there, and like. If I said this in my video, and I think you would be able to agree, being more on the ground with it all, but at any level of coaching, it's clear to see where you need to make changes and where you need to adapt. It doesn't matter what level of coaching you're doing. Of course, it means a lot more at the highest level of football, but right down to grassroots. Like, a coach is a coach, and they should be able to identify and change things. And for me, what was happening with Nancy was, any level of coach he was going up against who was able to change something, he just didn't have the answers to it. He looked so incapable of changing things in the situation, and he wasn't playing to anybody's strengths in that regard.
No, as you said there, anybody don't even need to have a coaching status. You can see when a team's come out and they've changed a formation or they've changed shape, they've done something different there in terms of clientele. You should be able to look at that and go, aye, they bring on Diamond, and you're like, right, realistically, we need somebody that's going to be physical that can go toe to toe with him then. Because when I seen that Rangers line up the way down, I said they've went man for man there. Because as soon as they went into a back three, the same as us, looked for a midfield, it looked like a 3-4-2-1 they were playing. So you're like, right, you need to then look at your clientele, who you've got, and try and match it best as possible. Most of the fact, you go in at 1-0 and you think, by the way, right, we've took the lead. Don't get me wrong, I'm the same boat as Kieran. We could have been 3-0 up. I still wouldn't have really fancied the game finishing that in our favour. But for it to be so simple to not be able to make simple wee tweaks, and then for Luke McCowan, a professional footballer, to then come out and say they made changes, we never. That literally shows he was as stubborn as we could see from outside, showing it from the inside. It's just absolutely baffling that somebody can be a professional manager in this game and refuse to make changes. Nuts.
Yeah. It's becoming a trend in football. It reminds me a lot of obviously another guy who got sacked on the same day in Ruben Amorim, but he's paid the price, and it's funny that we sit here. I want to move on to talking about Martin O'Neill, but I think that's pretty apt, Kieran, that we're 15 minutes into a podcast recording, and for something that should be so drawn out and something that should be full of chat, we can sum up his 33 days in 15 minutes.
Aye. I mean, you genuinely wonder what what went on behind the scenes. I can't wait for 10 years down the line. Look, McCowan goes on a podcast and tells all. But sitting there just baffled. That's what the past 5 weeks have been. It's been baffling because everybody can see it's not working. And then you see the guy in the dugout is unwilling to make any changes. He can't adapt this system that he stands by in the slightest to make anything better. We're going into games leading at half time knowing that we're not going to win the game. And that's the most damning indictment to his regrettable 33 days in charge. But I did say, we all say that if he was to get sacked, Tisdale had to go with him. And thankfully that did happen, but that's the first of many. Many more heads need to roll for sanctioning that appointment.
Peter Lawwell's gone, Wilfred Nancy of course gone, Paul Tisdale is gone, Michael Nicholson feels like a dead man walking in my own opinion. Calum, there's surely no way that his job is in any form of defendable position after not only the Wilfred Nancy saga but the last 12 months at Celtic Football Club. You've got to assume that at the end of the season whoever is in charge, whether it be Dermot Desmond, has to pull the plug on that and appoint a new chief executive officer.
I mean, you would like to think so, but then again, as Celtic Football Club, it does seem like we would try to do everything to avoid doing so first. I feel like Desmond's hoping that he's got a big 6 months in him, realistically, or a big at least January, to get O'Neill and such the players that he needs, and hopes that O'Neill kind of turns it round to save his job, it seems. But no, I think it has to be a case. There needs to continue to be this level of clear out. Folk need to keep going. As we could all sit and say it, in any capacity of our jobs, if we performed to that level, we would have all been shown the door long before that. Long before it, no matter what walk of life you're in. But because you've got this in with the part owner and you've been put into that position, it gets away with it far too much.
Yep.
See, the point I was going to raise there as well, sorry, was, I mean, Calum illustrated the point perfectly there, talking about any normal job, anything like this happens, you get sacked. The stakes obviously are a lot higher, but seem you think the way these guys think in terms of financials, this 33-day madness that we've had to endure, the appointment of him, the subsequent sacking of him and his backroom staff, that is a multi-million pound mistake. And is this what the money's sat there in the bank for the rainy days that are going to be caused by the ineptitude of the people in the Celtic board?
It's a great point, because the way I look at it is, if let's just see the CEO of Tesco was responsible for millions of pounds worth of compensation fees to pay out and millions of pounds worth of bonus money being lost, we'd probably be seeing headlines in the newspaper about how Tesco's CEO has been relieved of their duties. So, Michael Nicholson is at the very core of a mistake that has cost, the Celtic shareholders money and Celtic as a football club money. It's a very interesting point. As I said, I think he's a dead man walking personally, but Kieran, to just the nail on the head that you said earlier, it has to be only the beginning of a wider clear out at Celtic Football Club. Wilfred Nancy is gone. He's away, and so we welcome back Martin O'Neill. On that note, I thought for a laugh, let's do a wee half time. Very quick, who's that tick, shall we? Because we've lost a lot of the good vibes, and we've got the bad vibes of the opening 20 minutes out the way, right? So let's return a wee bit of half-time fun. I've got a who's that tick. Kieran, player A or player B?
Player A.
Player A. So your clue for this week is one of you are getting a player that joined the club in Martin O'Neill's last season as manager, and one of you are getting a player who left the club in Martin O'Neill's last season as manager. So we're talking 2004-05, right? Don't have to spend too long on it. Kieran, you're player A. Here you go. Are you ready?
I got it.
So, the first player was at Celtic in youth capacity. However, he joined from Ballincollig AFC in Ireland, right? So, he joined from Ballincollig AFC in Ireland,
Right.
and he left for Manchester United.
Liam Miller.
Correct. Well done. That was a quick one. Well done, Kieran. Congrats. Wee bit of fun. So that was the player who left Celtic in Martin O'Neill's last season. Calum, which means you have the player who joined Celtic in Martin O'Neill's first season. So your player joined Celtic from Newcastle United on loan, and after returning to Newcastle United went to Blackburn Rovers. Who is it?
Fuck.
I'll happily give you a wee clue if you're struggling.
So, came in on
Came
loan.
in from Newcastle on loan, and then once he returned to Newcastle, the club he joined permanently was Blackburn Rovers.
See, Kent's going to end up saying what the fuck's he saying. There's only one person, I don't even think he played, came from them, or went to them
Right.
after it. Is it Aaron Thompson?
It's not Alan Thompson.
No.
If he
It's
joined,
not.
the
He joined
in the
from
last season, O'Neill.
yeah.
But
Scared you, I guess.
nah, I genuinely don't have a clue. I'm just glad I went for play today.
Well, the correct answer was Craig Bellamy. Craig Bellamy
shit.
was the
thought
correct answer.
Could not have thought you played with Blackburn. Saying
Ah,
that,
there
a
you
man
go.
of many
Neither could
clubs, but
Neither could I. It was. I mean, I'm looking at the list now: Norwich, Coventry, Newcastle, Celtic, Blackburn, Liverpool, West Ham, Man City, Cardiff, Liverpool, Cardiff again. I mean, that's a list. Martin O'Neill, he was in charge of a great era, made some great signings. We're going to get into talking about what Martin O'Neill needs to do, but he is back. I'll start with you, Calum. To me, it felt inevitable. This felt like the safe option for Celtic to go to Martin O'Neill to the end of the season. Slightly embarrassing that Celtic need to revert to Martin O'Neill again for the second time in one season. But he's got a simple job now. It's to save our season. Have Celtic went for the right guy?
personally for me, yeah. I think it probably should have been a case, and I know again it contradicts what I said weeks ago when we were looking at the full-time appointment whilst he was here the first time round, but it probably was the best option all round. And don't get me wrong, there was points where in his short stint we did complain about some of the football. It felt a wee bit kind of passive, a wee bit kind of slow, but he got the results at the end of the day. That's which cost a man his job and what's then returned Martin O'Neill. So yeah, no, I think it's definitely the right option. There was cries again and shouts for folk online saying Ange, such, but I say, but we've just went through this return of we've had a manager that was here, barring Nancy, when we had Rodgers before and then he was away, and then it was Lennon before and then he was away, and then Ange. We can't keep going round that cycle again. Again, don't get me wrong, I loved the big guy who was here, loved his football, everything was brilliant, but I just want to see his break away from that cycle now.
So on the note that you mentioned there about, maybe it still wasn't perfect under O'Neill. The most important thing was he won 7 out of 8 games. Nancy lost 6 out of 8 games. Is it maybe just a case, Calum, of like, we accept that whoever's in charge with this current group of players, it's probably going to be brutal viewing. It was brutal viewing under Rodgers, it was brutal viewing under O'Neill at times, and it was obviously brutal viewing under Nancy. Is it just a case of bugger the performances for the time being? We just need to get back to winning first, and Martin O'Neill kind of doesn't guarantee it necessarily, but gives you the best chance of it.
Oh, don't get me wrong. See, if somebody said to me right now, you'll go on, you'll win the rest of your games. Not some will go invincible, but you'll crack results throughout the rest of the season. Mostly it'll be 1-0 and you're going through it. I'd bite your hand off at that 100%. It's the success that is the big factor of it. And don't get me wrong, of course you want to go on a Saturday and you want to watch entertaining football, your 3-4-0s and sort of quick passing, moving play, but at the end of the day, it is results that is needed, and realistically I think it probably is the best option available there for it just now.
Yeah, Kieran, I mean, we spoke about it in the pub following the game at the weekend, and I think we all kind of agreed that if it was anybody, it probably would be Martin O'Neill. Now, he did confirm that it's only till the end of the season, it won't be anything beyond that, so you would assume that Celtic behind the scenes will start considering options long term. But in terms of the short term, Kieran, it does make it a bit frustrating knowing that we could have probably just avoided this whole disaster, and Martin O'Neill could have been in charge for the League Cup final, he could have been in charge for another derby, we could have been still however many points clear of Rangers, and yet here we find ourselves. Is there a point in dwelling too much on it, or is it now just about getting the head down and turning this season around?
I don't think there's much point looking back, because there's no much to look back on. It's been pretty disastrous viewing as a Celtic fan. I will admit, as Calum said earlier as well, at the time I thought I didn't want to keep O'Neill purely for the fact I thought nobody knew how bad Wilfred Nancy was going to be, but maybe we should have kept him there for the cup final, things like that. I still think it would have went tits up for Nancy at some point. But I was in the mindset of thinking, right, if he's not going to be here to the end of the season, we might as well just get on with it and get the new manager in. It was new, uncovered ground for us as Celtic fans having a new permanent appointment mid-season. There was something kind of exciting about it for about 30 seconds. And then, but no, I think right now, Martin O'Neill is the man till the end of the season. I think that was always going to be the case when Nancy was sacked. I had resigned myself to it. I won't sit here and pretend. I mean, whilst it might have brought back a wee bit of excitement, looking forward now, we can maybe put the past behind us and try and just focus looking ahead to the games coming up and hoping things will be better. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that things are going to be rosy just because Martin O'Neill's came back in. The past 5 weeks have exposed just how poor these players are and how good a job Martin O'Neill managed to do to get 7 wins out of 8 out of this group of players. Fair enough, they would have been played in a system that did not suit them, but the lack of effort that you've seen for some of the players of the past 5 weeks has been despicable as well. A lot of the blame went on Nancy. A good portion needs to go with certain people in that squad. And that, for me, that doesn't change it. I still think this squad's poor. I think there's a lot of people that should not be playing for Celtic. We need major reinforcements in January, but we already know that. I'm going to be realistic. We will make signings, but who's going to be able to say they're going to be any better than the shite we've already signed this year?
Yep.
Because we don't have anybody overseeing them anymore. That these will be, as we've called them in the past, club signings. Major influence for boardroom level in these. Martin O'Neill will get a say, but I've still not got I've got no confidence in the recruitment moving forward. I'm more optimistic now that Nancy's not in the job, and as you were saying, I don't think it will be pretty viewing for the rest of the season. But the way I look at this is a salvage mission.
Let's get back to we'll get back to recruitment in a moment, because that is going to probably take up the next 10 or so minutes of the show. It feels like the most important thing to talk about, but I want to bring it down to basics for a moment, because I don't feel like I've actually had the chance to properly address this on the channel, because it has all been straight into January, straight into the next game. But Kieran, to take it back to just the bare minimum expectation of Martin O'Neill being brought in to salvage our season and win us a league title, does that appointment at least make you more hopeful of that? Or is this still just, is he just inheriting the same mess that is going to be, as you called it, a salvage mission that might even be too much for Martin O'Neill? Where do you stand in terms of confidence for Celtic now challenging for a league title?
Certainly more confident than I was this time last week, but I think it may be naive to say, right, we've brought Martin O'Neill in, things are all going to be smashing now. I hope the guy comes in and revolutionises this group of players again, but I think you need to have an element of realism, because well, we're not completely out of the race yet. There is still a lot of football to be played, but it needs to be a lot better, and a lot better on a very consistent basis from now to the end of the season. And we pretty much need to be perfect, because we've seen that we've got two teams, two teams ahead of us now. Can't even say keep up with us. We're the ones trying to keep up with the rest of the pack now. So we're in a very different circumstance for what we usually find ourselves in. There's a lot of adversity, and this group of players, the second there's been any adversity this season, have crumbled. So you just need to hope that Martin O'Neill can work his magic yet again till the end of the season. But I'm more hopeful, but it's a tough one to call this far out for me. But I need to see a few good performances in January to maybe sway me to that level of thinking.
Is this the first time Celtic have been third in a three-horse race? Like, I can't, in our lifetime, I mean. I can't remember a time going into January where Celtic have been third and, you know, two teams have realistically got title expectations in their hands. Like, that is uncharted territories for a lot of this whole team, for us, and it's going to be really difficult. Calum, what about you? What do you think about your confidence in winning a league title right now? Are you in the same boat as Kieran?
Yeah, I think just to kind of, as Kieran had said there, I need to start seeing performances. Again, Saturday's a prime example. You go in, you play a team that you lost away to a couple of weeks in recent times. You'd like to think, hopefully, mindset changes. Kind of obviously tactically revert back to what we're used to. You'd like to then think you get a win there and you think, right, you're off to a positive, but then again, as Kieran said, it's the fact that it's still the same group of players that's there. We need to see change within there, and I know we're going to come on to a couple of rumours and sort of kind of names that we briefly spoke about, but yeah, I think definitely the clientele needs a big change, because there is some players that it's just dross. It's just not a Celtic level at all, but the fact that they're here and have been here for a couple of years, it's just really damning.
Martin O'Neill's exact quote, let's talk about recruitment then. His exact quote is, "We definitely need to supplement the squad. There's no questions about that. Sean Maloney's been working in the background in certain things, getting to know some players. Eventually, I'd like to be sitting here saying all these players are my choice. I don't have a great deal of time before I'd be able to run over all of the players. Here, I will rely on Sean, Mark and Stephen for their opinion on players, but eventually it will be down to me. If they don't do well, I will blame Sean." So, yeah, Martin O'Neill will have a big say in these signings, and he's said numerous times across many interviews it's about supplementing a squad. And I feel like this time round he's been a little more ruthless in that assessment than maybe he was before. And that's probably because he was never expecting to get a January transfer window, whereas now he can be like, oh, hold on, this mob are shite, and I need players. Kieran, he needs a striker, he needs other players. Ultimately, that will probably dictate whether he succeeds or fails, but it needs to be a busy window for Celtic.
I know, absolutely. And I'm sat here as well, like every January. I know in my head the positions we need, but in terms of the actual players we bring in, I don't know what a successful window is going to look like for Celtic, because the markets we shop in, 90% of the time, you've never heard of these people before, and you're kind of hoping and praying that they turn it to be a success story. Like, I don't know, Maeda, Hatate, these kind of players. But yeah, you're obviously a wee bit sceptical, maybe a big bit sceptical, after seeing our signings over the past couple of years. It's been pretty piss poor. Majority of the players that get signed are nowhere near a first team appearance 6 months down the line, never mind a year. So I was thinking to myself earlier today, we need to get really lucky this window. I know that sounds bad, because we should be making strategic signings, knowing exactly what we're talking about, but we don't, because we're fucking Celtic, and we need like Ange level luck in that summer window with the amount of hits he got out of the amount of players signed. Do I think we'll get that? Probably no, but we need to pull a rabbit out of a hat here with a couple of positions, striker being the main one. We need to get somebody in that can actually put the ball in the back of the fucking net, because it's been abysmal viewing for the past however many months.
A striker has, I mean, I've said this a few times in the channel already, a striker, Kieran, should be somebody that doesn't even matter what system they're meant for, just a guy that knows where the back of the net is. That is such a big part of the problems. There's a chance that could have, and Martin O'Neill touched on this, a guy that knows where the net is, or can aim between goalposts, could have maybe saved Wilfred Nancy's job, for goodness sake. Like, that's the bare minimum we're looking for. So I think you can disregard systems for a minute. You just need to find somebody that can put the ball in the back of the net.
No. I don't know who that looks like. We'll probably get asked in the questions for Twitter. I've not checked them yet, but I can only imagine there will be a question in there in regards to, is there a player you would sign? But when you look at any, like, usually in years like this where we have been struggling for goals, we usually go out and sign somebody for the Scottish League. There's not even anybody out there that I would look at and think, right, we could realistically go for them.
Because nobody at Hearts is going to be coming to Celtic in the January window.
It's like anybody that does play half decent teams don't muck about these days.
What about Malwinisi at Motherwell?
Fucking bring in, just go into like the tap stats of like the league on FOTMob, and the players that are on tap. Because
the way I don't want the barometer at Celtic ever to be, oh, it's simply better than what we've got, because that's what's fucking cost. That's why we are where we are. Like, you know, because the barometer has been, oh, I don't want us just to sign something that's slightly better. But the way I worded it in the live stream last night was like, I would be underwhelmed at the likes of a Kieran Bowie. But is he better than every striker we've got right now? Probably. So, like, you know, this is the situation you find yourselves in. Calum, I did have an interesting question that I thought I'd come to you with. How more difficult is it as well when, and granted, there's a kind of two-parter to this question. Number one, should everybody who was on the radar of Paul Tisdale be thrown up and to this, you shouldn't even consider them. But how more difficult does it make it now that you don't have somebody in that position? Like, you're having Martin O'Neill having to come on and basically, inherit a bit of that, what the scouts are telling him, but then also just start fresh.
Personally, I think if I was Martin O'Neill and I get handed that list of the players Tisdale was looking at, you'd wipe your arse with it. Because that's the best way to put it, personally, because the players he was bringing forward and the players he signed during his time are nothing short of woeful, it feels. You get a player like Barry Grisha, who, again, obviously is very kind of on topic for the abuse he's getting from his native country due to the AFCON, not even success, failure, if you will, sorry.
Yes.
You get folk like Sebastian Tenure, who's come in for the price of £5 million, and you think, you want a Jota 2.0 there. Not quite the same fee, but you know what I mean? If you're paying a fee like that for a winger, you're expecting somebody that can take a man on and at least beat the first man with a ball. Baffling. And then again, we've got the folks like Inamura, who are also back in FC Tokyo. I think yeah. Again, like, there you go. Players that were brought in this summer, they've been here maximum 6 months and already they've been sent away. Not a chance would I be touching any of the players that he was in charge of the recruitment for.
Well, we've been linked with a couple so far. An interesting quote, before we move on to Twitter questions and get into the kind of final stages of the show, there was an interesting quote that came out on the Daily Records hotline last night from Michael Gannon, and the exact quote was that the Bournemouth boy, Julian Araujo, wasn't on Celtic's long-term scouting list. Jocelyn Tabby, same as him, these were both players who were offered to the club and offered to Sean Maloney or Paul Tisdale or whoever else picks up the phone there. These weren't players that Celtic were scouting. So that seems to be what the recruitment process... And it felt like that in deadline day, remember, when Tenecki came out of nowhere. We hadn't heard of him before that transfer deadline. And it was like last minute panic signing. It's almost as if an agent went, we've got somebody here for you. I
thought Tenecki was the one we were pure lowballing for ages.
No, that was Jakub Briem. Tenecki just came out of nowhere. Like, unless there was a wee bit of low balling that happened towards the end. Like, Tenecki's name popped up right towards the end of the window. It might have even been like the day before the deadline or deadline day. And I think there was a bit of low balling on the day maybe, but it was other players. So this seems to be, I don't know if the truth is all going to start coming out about how bad Paul Tisdale was at his job, but I just think it's a damning indictment of what's happening behind the scenes.
I mean, you put it perfectly there. If Celtic's signing policy is just to wait for a phone call for desperate agents to get their client to move, that is pretty fucking shocking at any level of football, never mind at the very top of Scottish football. So we're in a situation now where you don't really have the faith in the people that are employed to be making these decisions. Every transfer window we're sat here with a pessimistic outlook because you've got no faith in these people doing their jobs correctly. It just feels you're actually praying for a miracle every time. Because you're signing relative unknowns. Usually with any other club you think, right, they've done their homework on this guy. I don't think we send scouts to games. They get pished in the fucking hospitality lounge, and then at the end of the game they need to pick somebody off the lineup and say, I should sign him. Because half of the guys I've seen pull the green and white hoops on in the past few years that have been signed by this club have been nothing short of terrible and a far cry from where a level of Celtic player should be.
So, just to clarify, there was 3 bids made for Tenecki before the official final £5.5 million offer was accepted late on deadline day. Where that started, that those low balls is not clear in this article, but it was very, very late by reading that everything happened. They did try for other wingers such as Jakub Briem for the majority of the window, which was the one that Celtic lowballed about 10 times. Just a complete mess. Nico Sigur has been linked with the club. Reporters in Croatia said that he's set for a move. Then Celtics Are Here released an article saying that's far from the truth. Celtic are interested. Calum, it feels like one of the lines in that Celtics Are Here article actually is, let me just clarify this to get it exactly right. Celtic will continue to monitor Sigur's situation. Here we are. We've already heard Martin O'Neill saying January's a difficult window to sign in. We've already had our first Celtic are monitoring the situation. It's going to be a long month, mate, innit?
Oh, definitely. I think when I'd first seen that, like kind of this afternoon, when I was seeing it, I thought I'm going to have a look, and then again see the boy can play right back. I think brilliant. No more Anthony Ralston. Can play kind of holding midfielder. I think brilliant. Somebody else to help out McGregor. And then, as you say, they said they're monitoring the situation. You just go, what is the point? Like, you just give up all hope. As the fact that Martin O'Neill had to come out and essentially reword the board's quote from the other year of January's a difficult month. The fact he's had to come out and just reword that straight away, you think, right, we'll take another 2 loan signings and another loan, we'll sign somebody on a low fee and that'll be you'll be happy with it. It's so infuriating.
Kieran, it makes me think that what we'll get is a few loan signings.
I was about to say that, get ready for panic buy, but not even panic buy, panic loan at the end. I was actually sitting trying to think what Premier League shite is going to want put out on loan.
Calum Wilson.
Yeah, there's a sign-up.
I've accepted that, mate. I've accepted that.
But,
relegation fodder.
Well, last year we got Jeffrey Schlupp, who for the first few games actually looked quite good, and then fuck knows what happened. But nah, you've got no faith. I could maybe see a couple of cheaper signings and then loans for whoever uses a bell closer to the end of the window.
Yeah, it's basically if you want to sell anybody, if you're wanting money, give Michael Nicholson a phone. There's no guarantee that he'll pick up on the first ring, or maybe even the second ring, but they'll probably be happy to do business with you somewhere. Right, before I move on to the Twitter questions and the kind of final segments of the show, there's been so much to cover that I can only guess what you have to say. So any kind of final thoughts on the whole situation this week and moving forward? I'll start with you, Kieran.
It's just been a disgrace for top to bottom of this appointment. A real lack of for any care or thought put into it, really, considering how long they had to make this appointment, to interview people, and for it to get to the point where Wilfred Nancy was the number one candidate. Fair enough, the squad they had was terrible, but he was utilising it in a way that was not going to help him in the slightest. It was a dead man walking for a few games in, everybody could see it. And now we find ourselves back in the same situation again. So it's been a wild season, but hopefully we can turn the corner and try and put this madness behind us and try and get something back in this league, the race for the league title.
Any closing thoughts, Cal?
I think it's just kind of same as Kieran. You're just home, kind of something can kind of break and turn the other way, and you kind of hope. You just hope you go out and you start taking results. Hopefully, other results go your way as well. And yeah, we kind of claw ourselves back into it. There'll be folks and claw ourselves in it. It's only 6 points. It's this and that. It's a bit. 6 points is a long way. We've seen league titles won by less in recent years. Like, as something folk need to try and remember. But no, I just hope Martin O'Neill has as good a second time round as he did the first.
Well, there we go. I mean, lads, we're going to have plenty of months to talk about who the next Celtic manager's going to be as well, so don't worry. Plenty to keep us going. Don't worry at all. Let's get into some Twitter questions. Let's see what the people are asking us, and we'll try and dart through these very quickly. Cal is asking the question that I want to just take a turn to answer this first. I hate this. I hate it with all my heart. But we are at the panic stage where it feels like anything is better than nothing, and we might just need to accept something like this. But I once again, I refuse to say that this is where I would go. This isn't my option. But he's asked the question, Kyogo on loan for 6 months. No luck at Birmingham. Maybe it gives him a chance of playing at the World Cup. Is it our best option going forward if he was available?
I guess science says it all. No, I think it's just, even in touching on the point there, they're saying if it gives him a chance for playing for Japan at the World Cup, the national team manager didn't fancy him at all whilst he was here. That was the full reason he left. So there's not a chance to say if he comes in and turns it round, that he's going to then get that chance. So as well, if they're then looking at striker, like, he's so far out of confidence. Like, there's nothing to say. He comes in, hits the ground running, scores, I don't know, 12, 13 goals between now and the end of the season.
He was hardly hitting the ground running as he left Celtic, Calum.
Yeah, there you go. I mean,
So-
the fact of obviously makes that move to Rennes, doesn't quite work for him, then gets his move to Birmingham. Since then, obviously, it's not if I watched them week in, week out, but when I get the chance to, if they're on the telly, if it's early kick-off, whatever you watch them, you see him coming on, you think, let's see if he does something. But he just never looks like creating anything.
So, yeah, I'm going to be ruthless in my assessment. I loved the boy. He was a great player, gave me some great memories, and I still love him. But he left Celtic to get into the World Cup squad, and it's went tits up. The grass isn't always greener, tough titty, move on. And if it was deadline day and he was our only option remaining, cool, maybe I go, that's fine. But let's not pretend that Celtic don't have another 20-odd days left to go and assess a striker that's in form and scoring goals somewhere. That's where I'd be going. I'm kind of done with the whole Kyogo chat, man.
I was actually going to say that's bit Celtic need another off-the-boil striker. Brilliant, get him in.
Nah, may as well go and
There you go.
May as well get Adamida back while we're at it.
I know.
Sorry, Cal. I don't think any of us are that keen on it, but I mean, we'll see what happens. Let's see. Weiler asked, does Maloney and Fozzie doing the recruitment fill you with much hope? This is not Fozzie's slander, by the way. I love the guy, but it's not exactly inspiring confidence, Kieran.
No, I mean, I've touched quite heavily on the fact that nothing's going to give me confidence around recruitment, especially this window. I think the club's in dire need of an overhaul in that department. Something needs to change. I'm very aware that it's not going to change in the next month. I've resigned myself to the fact to not get my hopes up when it comes to signing players this January window. But no a lot would fill me with confidence. And I don't know if Maloney and Fozzie is filling me with much merit at all.
Drennan asks the question, is the biggest appointment now for Celtic a director of football, stopping lawyers, accountants and egomaniacs making footballing decisions? That feels like the quote has came straight out of my mouth. I've been banging that drum a couple of times over the last couple of days. Kieran, what do you think?
I think when we sat here 5 years ago saying the same stuff, there was already talk that Ange was going to be getting a director of football. Didn't quite materialise.
Niall Harkin or something? What was his name?
Oh, aye.
Fergal Harkin.
Fergal Harkin. Aye. Give Fergal a phone. But no, I think we spoke about 5 years about progressing the club, modernising, changing with the times. And we thought when we were appointing Don Mackay and things like that, things might be a step in that direction, but that lasted all of 60 days, something like that. So I don't think it will happen, but I think it would be a step in the right direction. But obviously, it's talking about it being the biggest appointment. It is, in a sense, but let's get real. We really, really need to get the next manager appointment right because, I mean, the board need to get it right because they won't survive another fuck up. So
yeah,
everything needs to go well next summer.
I'll dance through a couple more so I can do our full-time quiz and get us up the road. I say up the road as if we're not already up the road, but you know what I mean. Mackenzie asked the question, Calum, is this maybe, let's forget about Kyogo for a minute, but is Celtic's striker solution maybe going to be more short-term, do you think? Would it be a 6-month contract, a loan contract? Do you think it'll be something short-term? Let's just say a loan. Do you think they're going to go down that route?
Yeah, I think that is the route we'll probably end up looking. I think as we kind of briefly touched on, I think it'll be an out-of-contract striker that's due up. Obviously not so much a loan for them looking at that, or somebody that is just, they're not really cutting it. There's another 2 strikers in front of them, and I thought, why don't we stick him out for 6 months, see what he can do.
A couple more. Adam says Celtic's depressing me. Can Ryan do a Graham McDowell impression? It'll cheer me up. Now, I am aware of who Graham McDowell is, but I don't know what he sounds like. So sadly, I can't. Has he got like a Denny? You know what he sounds like?
No.
No, you need to tell us.
I will. I need to go and do some research. I don't know if he's. Where is he? I know he's from. Is he from Scotland? I know he's. Let's see. Graham McDowell. Graham McDowell he's from Portrush. So he's Irish, right? Okay, I didn't know that. I have no idea what he sounds like. Right. Sorry, Adam. I'm sorry to let you down. Liam's in for you, Kieran. He's been missing you these last couple of weeks. He said, "Hello, Kieran. Hope you had a scrumptious Christmas and New Year. Just wondering what your favourite pot noodle is, lads. And here, mind that time Beaton scored a screamer against Hamilton. Some laugh. Favourite pot noodle flavours?
I don't know if it's controversial to say that I don't like pot noodles. I think they might be the worst variation of noodle you can get.
See,
But
the thing is, like, if we're having to be exclusive to pot noodles themselves, there is only one that I'd touch because I do think they're shite and it's a beef and tomato. But I would look for any other form of potted noodle ahead of the pot noodle.
soba or something like that. No,
Aye.
pot noodle, man. I couldn't bring myself to eat a pot noodle. Liam, I'm very sorry. But
Oh, he's
I
like you
used to
down
like
there,
the
Liam.
green one when I was a wee boy, but before I
What is
developed
the
taste buds,
what's the green one again?
chicken mushroom or something.
That's right, chicken mushroom. Calum, do you like a pot noodle?
I could not tell you last time I had a pot noodle. I do think it was when I was a wee boy. I think it probably would be the same. I think it'd be a chicken mushroom. Was the only one that comes to mind.
Fair play. Aye, the noodle game has evolved since the mid 2000s. Like that's, I feel like the mid 2000s was dominated by the pot noodle monopoly, which is just, it's done the
Them big ramen took over, man.
exactly. Right, let's go for one or two more here. Let's finish up on these. A lot of them are in similar veins, so apologies if we don't bring you up. Jude brings up the point, thank you to Jude Forsyth for this, saying the players didn't walk around the pitch after both the Cup final and the Rangers game, which has obviously been kind of traditional for Celtic in recent years, even through losses. Now, these losses obviously felt bigger than the average loss both to Rangers and in a Cup final, so to an extent you can see it, but it once again, does it just reiterate the point, Kieran, that the vibes have just been off in general?
I mean, the disconnect between the fans and the team through Wilfred Nancy's reign was very apparent. And honestly, I don't know if I'm in a camp alone here and saying I don't really blame them for no going round the pitch and then a lap on her after the two disgraceful games because they would have just been met with thousands upon thousands of people screaming in their faces. But maybe they should have went round to take their medicine because people pay a lot of money to follow Celtic and to watch the teams crumble like that. And the biggest games we've had this season is pretty unforgivable.
Well, hell, slap it into them. As I said, it became a very unlikable group of players, so they deserve the abuse they get and they should be coming there and taking it, I think. Final question for all three of us. If you even have an answer for it, it's quite a funny one, it's quite a unique one. Weiler asks, what's the saddest story you have about food or drink? For example, I was craving my wee can of Pepsi Max and I dropped it all over the laminate. It's severely dented and will never be the same, even if it's given time to settle. So, sad food stories. If you've got a time where you've been excited to eat something and then it's just went flying onto the ground or it's just destroyed your evening or whatever. On you go.
No, yeah, I'll let you tell your story, but I've got to say, I've got three instances that come to mind, and all three of them took place in Italy. So I'll let you go first.
See, I don't actually have one that comes to mind straight away, but the amount of time, this has happened across a number of different examples, and the most recent one for me is I went to Benson's on Christmas Eve with my mate. Shout out to Calum McKenzie, who used to be on this podcast, if folk remember. Me and Calum McKenzie went for a Benson's, and I got a Christmas-themed lunch, which came with pigs and blankets. So I get to the end of my meal and get below the chips, and I discover that I have one pigs and blanket left, one singular pig in a blanket, and I'm buzzing. I'm like, oh yes, one more. I pick it up with a fork, and what do? I drop both the fork and the pig and blanket onto the manky flare, and the moment was gone. I could not enjoy my pig and blanket. So the amount of times I've had a situation like that is uncanny. Calum, before Kieran gets going, is there anything that comes to your mind?
Not really off the top of my head. I know, maybe when I was younger and I was up at Huggy and I got a cone snatched at my head off a swan and bit my finger. That was fucking horrible. Since then, I've hated the
That sounds
bastards.
more traumatic than fucking. That sounds more traumatic than sad.
Absolutely gutted. I know Cal McKenzie's would be that time he dropped a cake in Tesco. I hope he watches up to this point and he gets there, because that's been a running joke for our chat for years with that cake fun. And I hope he watches it to this point. I really do.
So they are. Kieran, right, hit us. Go quick fire.
There's plenty to talk about. I think I've spoke about the sliced beef incident before on here,
Yes.
but the most recent one in Italy, there was two, but I'll go for the one we decided to venture into this wee family restaurant, Meatball Family. And I was like,
Nice.
if it's Meatball Family, the meatballs must be pretty fucking good, no? So meatball pizza, I'll take that. 10, 15 minutes go by, the guy, we're watching them make it. It's a very small place next to the central station in Milan. And the guy comes out, slaps down the worst like cheese pizza you've ever seen in your life. I was like, are you fucking kidding? I was like, Meatball Family is the name of the place. And I'm like, oh, what about the meatballs? He's like, pure glacier. I was like, the meatballs? Meatball pizza? He's like, oh, sorry. He proceeds to bring out, 10 minutes later, 6 rock solid meatballs on skewers. I'm like, what am I meant to do with it? certainly don't eat them because we're fucking disgusting. I've
brilliant.
never been angry.
Did you get a photo? Because I might need to attach it into the edit.
I think I did. I can send it in the chat.
Send it to the chat after. Brilliant, lads. I appreciate that. Well done, Kieran. You've really changed the tone in here, and I love that. There's your questions. Right, let's finish up very quickly with the quickest Celtic quiz of all time. It's going to be Kieran against Calum. It's going to be a Martin O'Neill themed quiz, and I'm giving you multiple choice because I don't expect us to know all these things because we were fucking babies and we probably don't remember the intricates, and I also didn't make the questions, so that's why I'm giving you multiple choice. Right, okay, Kieran, you won earlier. Do you want to go set A or set B?
I'll go set A.
Set A, you're going first again. Right, okay, Kieran. Who scored the first league goal of Martin O'Neill's time as Celtic manager? Was it A, Henrik Larsson, B, Chris Sutton, or C, Johan Mjällby?
I'll go for Sutton.
Correct, well done, it was Chris Sutton. He scored the first goal of the tenure. Calum, question 2, and it's for you. Who did Celtic sign, or who did Martin O'Neill sign Didier Agathe from? Was it Hibernian, Dunfermline, or Kilmarnock?
Yeah, I've not got a fucking Scooby. Kilmarnock.
It's Hibernian. Hibernian is the right answer. There you go.
Couldn't have to tell you.
So Kieran's up 1-0. Question number 2. Nah, I mean, listen, see, honestly, it would have took me ages to remember because it's a Wikipedia find for years ago. Question 3, Kieran, which is your question 2. How many goals did Henrik Larsson score in Martin O'Neill's first season as boss? Was it 51, 52, or 53?
52.
The correct answer was 53. I'm afraid you were just the one off. So, Calum, you have a chance to equalise. It's a big question, and I think you'll get this one, especially if you've watched my appearance on Call Yourself a Fan with Matt Lucas. So, your question is, from which club did Celtic sign John Hartson? Was it A, Arsenal, B, Coventry City, or C, Wimbledon?
I feel bad.
He's not watched
I've
it.
no. I can put my hands up and say it. I was due to actually watch it with Ian because Ian was surprised. Ian's words were, "Is that Matt Lucas?" And I had to then show my photo and explain it. Was it Coventry?
It was Coventry. Congratulations, mate. Good guess. Right, Kieran, question 3 for you. And it is a UEFA Cup based question. So, against which club did Celtic begin their run to the 2003 UEFA Cup final? Was it A, FK Seduva, B, Jonas Esch, or C. Vittoria?
I was thinking them before you said the answer, so I'll go FK Suduva.
Correct. Well done. 2-1, Kieran, which means Calum, you need the big equaliser here. Who was Celtic's top scorer in that UEFA Cup run? Was it Henrik Larsson, Alan Thompson, or John Hartson?
See, I feel like it feels like it should be glaringly obvious, but but then that's just putting me off. Oh, especially as I hate. It's no. He scored a couple, but I think it was. Fuck off. It's no, but I'm just going to say it. No, it's not. Fuck off, Cam. No, doesn't matter. I know it's no, but I'm going to say it. Fuck it. Larson.
Yes, well done, good.
No.
I was waiting for you. Go for the helmet.
Only because
They questions.
the clips of Hartson, and he said he scored such a big goal obviously against Liverpool, and he scored a big one away towards the end of the cup run. And actually, I'm like that. But what if he scored just a fuck ton before, and I've just no paid attention to it? But then I thought there was something with the
you were right.
that year.
Yes. That's right. And of course, Larsson scored 2 in the final alone, so that
Aye,
basically
so
sums
straight
it
away
up.
that match.
Right, Kieran.
Right.
Your question 4 to go up 3-2. Who succeeded Paul Lambert as captain of Celtic? Was it A. Neil Lennon, B. Jackie McNamara, or C. Chris Sutton?
Neil Lennon.
It was Jackie McNamara. He went in 2-footed. It was Jackie before Lenny.
I'd have said the
So
same. I'd have went
Calum. So, see, to be fair, I think I probably would have as well, but there was that kind of grey area for a year or two before Lennon was appointed captain. So, Calum, you can take the lead here on a big question. Who did Henrik Larsson face in his last competitive game for Celtic in 2004? Was it Aberdeen, Rangers, or Dunfermline Athletic?
Dunfermline?
It was Dunfermline, correct, Amundo.
Cup final, aye.
That beautiful Eagles green shirt, the very nice midnight green. It was lovely. Right, Kieran, you need this, or Calum is our winner this week. And it's a bit of a tricky one, not going to lie. So, Kieran, how many times did Celtic play Barcelona during Martin O'Neill's time as manager? Was it 2, 4, or 6?
I think it was like individual games.
Yes, individual games.
I'll go with 4.
And Kieran, you're correct. Well done. Good answer. Which means, Calum, it's down to the final one. And this is one that even I admittedly think I would struggle to get because I would just lose count. He was that successful. But
Class.
Calum, how many trophies did Martin O'Neill win during his first 5 years at Celtic? Was it 6? Was it 7? Or was it 8? It's one of the ones that would just leave me stumbling, trying to make sure I count every trophy.
And I'm trying to, but I can't think for life, mate. And to save us all the time, and so I can go and get my dinner. I'll go 7.
Ladies and gentlemen, your winner this week, Calum Craig, with a great final answer on the 7 there. Well done, Calum. Well done, mate. That brings us to the end. Listen, you've been flying this. I need to update that league table for the first time, and I've still got it, and I've got to update it.
I've got to say, I've not had a chance to read quizzes. So no negativity.
We're back to normal, ladies and gents. Right, listen, thank you for joining me this evening, Kieran and Calum. Thank you to the viewers and listeners at home watching on YouTube, Spotify, or any other podcasting platform. I'm going to let Calum go get his dinner. So from Kieran, from Calum, and from me, it was good to see yous. We'll see yous hopefully back in the studio next week. So until then, take care of yourself. God bless, and we'll see you next time. Cheerio.